Hey, what is up, everybody? Welcome to Pop Culture Philosophers. It's Friday. That means it's time for the Amy, Rex, and the Robbie show. Unfortunately, even though we've been building up to the show, Rex had some stuff going on, some personal things. He could not be here today, but we will get Rex's full thoughts on what we're going to be discussing at a later date tonight, or I should say today. This morning, we are talking about Roadhouse, the 2024 Doug Liman film starring Jake Gyllenhaal, which is streaming on Amazon Prime right now. We've been talking about it here on this show. We've been planning for this. We're ready for this, but we want you to be a part of this conversation. So please go along with us and let us know your thoughts on 2024's Roadhouse. And even though we don't have Rex, we do still have the dynamic duo from Dynamite Entertainment. They are the ones and the only. It's awesome, Amy, and alliterative Alex. What is up?
I'll have to put that in next time when it's just him and me. But I didn't think that we would ever have just a Roadhouse episode, but here we are.
Me neither.
Here we are.
It's been a long time coming, let's be honest. So that's what we're doing, y'all. I see you out there in the chat, Commander and Beef, checking out the show for the first time. That's awesome. Well, thank you for being here. We knew we were going to get a lot of excited people. We were going to get a lot of people excited to come here and at least hear the thoughts, because all week long, I've been hearing mixed things from people. Now, Rex gave us a little bit of his thoughts on Monday night. He told us that he enjoyed the film, that he liked it. I was like curious about that, right? Then Spilio's messaging me, telling me that he likes it. So I was like, all right, last night we did the best comics of the month stream. And when we wrapped that up, I sat down and I watched Roadhouse, the 2024 one by Doug Liman. Now, we talked about this a few weeks ago because there was a lot of controversy about this because Amazon decided to go direct to Amazon Prime with it in lieu of a theatrical release. Really pissed off Doug Liman. He came out with he was very vocal about his thoughts on it. And we discussed that, and we were like, is this a marketing ploy? Should this have been in the movie theaters? Doug Liman said it's one of the best things he's ever done. I will say this, after watching Roadhouse, there are very interesting technical things that Doug Liman is doing here, but I don't think it's his best film, not compared to The Bourne Identity or Swingers or Mr. and Mrs. Smith. But I'm excited to get into this movie. So before I reveal my thoughts and we really dive into it, Amy just watched the original Roadhouse for the first time. Amy, what'd you think?
Well, I was able to watch the original Roadhouse first and then the new one, and I can honestly say I do prefer the original. So, and it's not like I didn't hate this new one. It was just like I was into it for the first half, but then like the second half I kind of fell off of it. And
Okay.
we can get into more detail about that later, but
we'll get into that. But what? So let's just unpack your thoughts on the original. What did you think about it, Amy?
I get why people like it. I mean, it's a dumb action movie, but at least I can kind of feel the substance a little bit with how, you know, Patrick Swayze relates to, you know, the townsfolk, and how seeing him fall in love and having his, you know, his friendship with Sam Elliott. So there's substance in there. Again, it's far from perfect, but again, I get why people like it, especially why guys like it.
And yeah, 100%. This is definitely a macho movie, the original Roadhouse, right? For sure. Because you got like the stoic philosophy of Dalton. You've got like women throwing themselves at him. You've got just like people brawling. Yeah, exactly. You know, and it's quoted as a lot of people's favorite movie. Go ahead, Amy. Am I having internet issues? Are y'all having internet issues? I think we just lost them. Yeah, we lost them.
Good for you. I can't.
All right, we're going to wait on them to catch up and realize that they're a little bit.
Movie.
They're still trying. Hey, you guys there? Hello?
Is that as well? But I mean,
it'll catch up. There you go.
Are you there? Hello?
Yeah.
Hello. Man, these shows with Dynamite are always so nice and professional. Are y'all there? They're not here. There is a glitch in the Matrix. All right. Well, as we wait for them, let's talk about this. We had a whole conversation about the original Roadhouse.
Man. It's us.
There you are.
It's always us.
Hello?
Hello.
I hate it when that happens.
It's okay. Yes, there was a glitch in the Matrix. It's fixed now.
I don't know why I wasn't expecting that at some point today. Like, I honestly thought it was me because it seemed like my internet was kind of going up and down.
It's never you.
Anyway, so the original Roadhouse we talked about here on the channel a couple of years ago. It's the only PCP movie night that we had Bueller on because it's one of Bueller's favorite movies. The original Roadhouse, when I grew up, I did not like the original Roadhouse as a kid. And the reason why is this. So my mom and my stepfather, they were avid movie lovers, right? And we going to the theater was a big experience because I'm the eldest of 6 kids, right? So we didn't go to the theater as often as I would have liked to in my younger years because, you know, it would have been super expensive, right? But we were avid VHS renters, right? So we would it's not just every weekend. It was like almost every night or every other night we were going to the video store to rent something, to find something, right? That's how I got into horror films because my mom was super into them. And I would just stare at those awesome, gnarly VHS covers. And I'd be like, can we do this one? She'd be like, sure. Right. But like, so I have a lot of fond memories of this. However, when I grew up, my stepdad's favorite movie was Roadhouse and Next of Kin. And my mom's favorite movie was Roadhouse and Dirty Dancing. So there was something about Patrick Swayze that just turned me off just because it was like my parents' thing. And they watched them all the time. They're like, I'd be like, are we really watching Roadhouse and Dirty Dancing again tonight? Come on. Can we not watch Fievel Goes West, please? But but we eventually got to Fievel Goes West, and it was an absolutely fantastic follow-up to An American Tale. So let me unpack my thoughts real quick on the right. Yeah, we should talk about the Fievel movies. So if Nick's watching, Nick should go after the Fievel license. That would fit right in with the branding that y'all are doing lately. All right.
There were comics in the early 90s. I do have the movie version of Fievel Goes West.
That's awesome. I have it's in my other room, but I have an American Tale on VHS still. Yeah, that's the way to watch it, by the way.
Now, are there Roadhouse comics? That's the question.
I don't know. I bet you could get Bueller to write a Roadhouse comic.
Bueller comic. I know. This previous Monday on Comic Collectables, it got off the rails towards the very end of the show. when Nick came in to talk about how much he loves Roadhouse. But he didn't. But he said he enjoyed this new one as well.
No, there are no Roadhouse comics yet.
No Roadhouse comics yet. Y'all just wait. Y'all just wait. There's Spilio right there. Was it perfect? No, it's not perfect. Of course, it's not perfect.
Yeah, the new one, like the original dumb action movie, but I guess it's just missing. I guess it was missing a little substance for me. Maybe that's just what I look for now. What do I like to latch on to when I watch a movie? You know?
Yeah. Okay. So let me get into this. So last night I get done with the stream, and I'm excited to check out this Roadhouse movie, and I'm watching it, and I'm really digging it. Like, and the first 20 minutes, like the first act of this film, I'm like, I like this movie. And then Act 2 and Act 3 happens. Act 3 is okay, I guess, but Act 2 is the problem I have with this movie, because it loses what's fun about this movie. What was, first of all, the Jake Gyllenhaal version of Dalton, which is a different Dalton. It's like Elwood Dalton. It was John Dalton. Mm-hmm. So in my headcanon, this is Dalton's son, right? This is how, like, I'm going with it. This is Dalton's son. It's a whole other thing. There's apparently references, like somebody pointed out that the restaurant near the Roadhouse is called the Double Deuce or what
yeah.
Yeah. So
I noticed that.
I didn't notice that, so I have to go back and watch it. The thing is, I really did like the first act. I liked the setup when he got into when he got to the Roadhouse and starts teaching everybody how to start bouncing properly and to notice problems before they start. I was really enjoying it, but I noticed, I was like, they seem like they're skipping a lot of this, like a lot of him teaching and imparting his stoic wisdom to these people. But this is a different Dalton. This is not, he's stoic, but not in the way as far as, like, it's not like Meditations Marcus Aurelius. Like he's like reading and studying and stuff like this. This dude is basically running away and hiding from the dark side of himself, right? And that seems to be the main theme of this movie, especially in Act 2, and it focuses solely on him and the machinations of this Weasley rich dude who's trying to shut down the Roadhouse for some reason, and it could be this, it could be that. And here's the thing. The idea of the rich dude or whatever in the original Roadhouse, that's not the most compelling thing about that movie. The compelling thing is the character of Dalton. The compelling thing is how and it's so much fun to see those nights in the Roadhouse. That's what we're missing here. We're missing the vibe and the flow and the fun of seeing this thing night to night keep escalating and going up. See it cool down and see it ramp back up. This movie completely starts losing me in the second part of the second act. And then even in the third act, like, it just felt like it fell apart. It lost its identity. It lost its purpose. Yeah, what's your question?
How do you feel about all the CGI they used? Which was kind of noticeable.
Are you talking about, like, with the way that they were showing the fight scenes?
Some of it, yeah. Some of it was with the fight scenes, like the scene where he's getting hit with the truck, and like how. And then at the very end where you see the boat fly into the Roadhouse, I'm just like, I can tell that wasn't real.
I actually didn't mind it because I felt like technically that was an interesting way to show the action, because it made you feel, at least to me, it made me feel like I was in there. Like, more impressive to me, aside from like the train wreck or the car wreck and all that kind of stuff where the camera does this stuff, but it stays close. But some of the fights, the way that they did that with the camera staying up close and not cutting really so much like a lot of action movies do nowadays, I did enjoy some of that. So overall, I enjoyed the first part of the movie much more. I wish we could have lingered more into the day-to-day of the Roadhouse. And I think the movie started falling apart, and I think there were some good performances. I think all the performances were solid, but they really focused too much on things that they missed what made the original shine, and they even missed what was making this movie shine while they were making it. So overall, Amy, what would you say about the new Roadhouse?
It's okay. that's all I can say. It's okay. I kind of understand maybe why they put it just to streaming, because I don't know how well this would have done in theaters. Maybe it would have made some money, but I'm just like, especially after the movie ends, I'm just like, yeah, I don't know if I would have been happy if I paid $15 to see this in theaters. So it's okay. It's okay. And I prefer the original. But one more thing to say about this new one. I mean, Jake Gyllenhaal did a great job. He knows what kind of movie he's in, and he was great. He's the best part about it.
There's elements of Jake Gyllenhaal's performance that I was seeing in Donnie Darko. Like Donnie Darko is one of my favorite movies. In that movie, he's like a disconnected teen, but there's this thing he does when people talk to him, and you can tell in his head, he's interpreting it in a certain way. And he kind of gets this like smile, and he kind of gets this laugh of like, how idiotic is this person? Now, Donnie Darko's going into a different mode with it, but there's elements of that performance that shine through here, especially when dudes like come at him and act all big, and he knows what's about to happen. And like when the dude pulls the gun and he just looks at him, and he just knows this dude's screwed up. There's some really cool moments in the film, but you mentioned Jake Gyllenhaal. He's doing good. Are there any other performances in the film that stand out to you, Amy?
I mean, I can see everyone in the comments talking about Mr. Conor McGregor, and I'm just like, I'm not a wrestling fan, I'm not a UFC fan, so I don't know who he is in that world. I'm not familiar with that world, but from what I'm hearing, he's being himself. And I guess, you put that type of that kind of athlete performer in this type of movie, like, you got right, play to their strengths. If that's what he's good at being at, then he did a good job. He did what he was supposed to do.
I like what Billy says. Connor was very entertaining. Acting was not good. The action scenes were great, but he acted like he was having the time of his life and wanted to be there. He did. He acted 100% like this is something that he seemed to have a lot of fun doing. I liked him in the movie too. I thought first of all, that both him and Jake are like super jacked in this movie, right? Like super jacked. And Conor McGregor looks like a He-Man action figure or something, man. Like in the way he even's doing his like little walk that he does with his arms spread out, dude. It's so crazy. It was cracking me up. It's just the story starts meandering around in that middle, and it starts slowing down, right? And the original Roadhouse to me is not a slow-paced movie. This one starts out with a quick pace and then drags it out. And we don't get to see so many of those other characters kind of be elaborated on, like the two other dudes that are helping Dalton bounce, or the bartenders, or even the owner of the bar. You don't get a lot of them. Even the little girl and her dad that run the bookshop, right? Like you just don't get enough of them because they spend so much time trying to make us slowly follow this kind of forced love story that's developing, even though that bit where they go off into the ocean and there's that spot where they can just chill and post up. That was really cool. I'd love to actually do that. That sounds fun.
Yeah. I mean, it's nice that you have a love story, but you didn't really feel anything for him. Like,
yeah.
And it's there. That's what it is. It's there.
Yeah. And then when you get to the end of the movie, you're almost left with the feeling of what was the point of all of this then? Did anything change for Dalton? Did he learn something? Did he grow?
Right.
Like
he just leaves.
Yeah, absolutely. So what did you think? Oh, go ahead, Alex.
Maybe the real Roadhouse were the friends we made along the way.
Jesus.
Crickets.
Amy, why don't you tell us what you thought specifically about the style and structure of this film?
Again, very exactly like you said, like the first act of the movie works. How they set up Dalton, how he's got this kind of a shady past. People don't want to fight him because he's got this reputation. And right, the reason he goes to the Roadhouse, right, he's down on his luck, tries to be like, it could have been a good, or like the Dalton in the original film, like this would have been essentially his origin story, like how he became this bouncer who goes around, saving, fixing one bar at a time, and just, like if at the end, like that, it was kind of leading into that. It would have, I would have liked the ending better. I can tell you that.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Then we could have potentially set up like a franchise or something, right? I thought the movie had style. Like I really did like, for the most part, the way it was shot. I liked the color. I liked the cinematography. I liked I liked the quality of the way it was shot. I liked some of the kinetic fight scenes. I thought these were some great fight scenes, to be honest. Like there were moments where they weren't cutting and they were keeping us right up close. So I did like that. But the structure is where it really falters for me. It's a really good, solid first act, but they pretty much, that first act should have been gone throughout the entirety of at least the first half of the second act, because it just kind of really slows everything up a little bit to a snail's pace, I think.
If you wanted me to like the love story more, like just really add more of them, like actually like, falling in love. Because it's like they maybe eat food one time and then they go out in the ocean, they kiss, but it's like,
show us more, don't tell us.
Yeah. And just like, I don't know, for its running time, it really meandered around for a long time there, and then cranks it back up towards the end just to have this big action-filled ending, which I thought was nice, but it didn't feel earned or anything like that for me. What did you think about the music in the film, Amy?
I couldn't tell you one song that was played, so there you go.
Okay. I like the music in the song in the movie. It starts off, it's kind of got that like bluesy vibe that's going through, and they show that mostly in the beginning, and then they pick it up towards the end. I liked all the songs that the bands were playing in the movie. Like some of my favorite moments were the bands playing and having to deal. In fact, I love that one band that's just keeping playing, and then nobody's there. He walks in and nobody's there. The bar is wrecked, but they're still playing. That one dude's got his shaker and he's just going to town. I really enjoyed the music. It makes me want to look up some of these bands and check them out. So I thought that was fine.
Cool.
What are some of your favorite scenes in the movie? Because I do think it has some good scenes.
I mean, easy one to point out is probably his first big fight scene. He starts off with the slap the guy, like, "Oh, did I hurt you? Hey, sorry." And then he does it again. He takes the whole group down. He's like, "Are you guys okay? Come on, we'll go to the hospital. It's good. It's good." Like it sums up his like that's his character. He'll kick your ass, but he genuinely is a nice guy. Like,
yeah. One of the things I do like is the one henchman who seems like cool with him. And he keeps saying like, "Hi, man, what's up?" He's the one that gets his arm broken, and he's just like, "Hi, man, what's up, dude? Oh, by the way, they don't tell me nothing. Oh, they're meeting over there, man. I'm sorry. It's all good." Another scene I liked was when that dude pulls up with the gun. He's like, "Get in the car." And he's like, "You're trying to scare me, but all I got to do is break your thumb and your index finger, and you can't use that weapon." He's like, "What are you talking about?" Then he does it. And like, just that whole interaction was cracking me up so much. More of that. More of him doing that with like normal, everyday, schlubby, trying to start shit at the bar, right? Like let's hang in that zone a little bit more. Let us enjoy Dalton in the Roadhouse before we put the Roadhouse in complete danger. We don't get enough lingering in on that. They basically do it all in one montage. And that's a big part of the original movie to me, is kind of like going there night by night and just enjoying the fun and the vibe. And then we as the audience are against Conor McGregor because we don't want him to disrupt the fun that we're having with the film, right?
Absolutely. And again, thinking about more how, again, Jake Gyllenhaal's performance, how he completely makes the character his own, and you can, put him and Patrick Swayze together. It's like, yeah, they're different Daltons, but they're still both interesting characters,
Yeah. Absolutely. Was that Post Malone in the beginning of this movie, by the way?
Yes, that was.
Okay, I
had to double check the credits. I'm like, Post Malone? Yeah.
I was like, who's this Post Malone looking guy?
But I know those face tats anywhere.
That was a really great moment too, when he's like, "I'm not fighting this dude. I don't care, man. You keep the money. I'm like out of here. I'm not fighting this dude." And okay, so what's the theme of this movie? I mean, they're laying thick the idea that this dude. I'm trying to remember. Did he kill the dude or nearly kill the dude in the octagon?
He killed the guy in the ring because he went overboard.
Yeah, he went overboard, and that to me is one of the themes, is that the idea of like he's trying to restrain himself, but it also shows you the danger of that because you can try to hold back your dark side, but that's not ultimately the way to deal with it, is avoidance or burying it or hiding it. Like, you have to kind of accept it, and that needs to be a part of your personality in a productive way, right? We need to find these impulses that we all have that some may say are shadowy or dark or negative, and we just got to find a way to implement that into our typical lives. Are you picking up anything on a theme? What's this movie trying to say to you, Amy?
I think that's exactly what's like, kind of like how to really how to embrace your dark side, use it for good, but it still didn't really feel like, did it work at the end? Like, did it? Because again, he kind of has to jump ship and leave this entire mess at the bar. Like, you think
but he leaves the money to the kid and her dad, right? That's the one thing.
He does leave the money.
All right. So overall, Amy, out of 5 possible you digs, and you out there in the chat, let us know what you think. What do you rate the new Roadhouse?
2 you digs.
2 you digs. Explain.
Could have been better, but it could have been worse.
Could have been better, could have been worse. 2 you digs. All right. I'll go a little bit better than that. I'll go 2.5. 2.5. Middle of the road. Imbalanced movie. Great beginning. Decent ending. But everything in the middle just kind of gets muddy and it slows down and it loses the sense of fun for me in that film. So I'll go 2.5. So 2.5 for me and a 2 for you for a PCP average of 2.269. So there you go.
Do you think that this movie would have helped or hurt by having a Patrick Swayze cameo?
Well, you know that's impossible.
Listen, nothing's impossible.
I forgot you like Star Wars, Hollywood. So they were able to get Tarkin in a Star Wars movie, right?
They had to for that.
That was weird.
And Leia, but regardless if it's right or wrong, if we have Christopher Reeve in a 2023 movie when their state wasn't even contacted, basically, like, everything's up in the air. So I go back to my question is, do you think this movie, storyline-wise, not, let's take it out, do you think that if there was a cameo from Patrick Swayze, it would have hurt or helped the movie?
It depends. It depends on the way they would have done it. For instance, if it was a CG'd, like, faux AI Patrick Swayze.
No hollow Swayze, please.
Yeah,
no.
If it was like a hologram Patrick Swayze, that would have been terrible. However, if there was a moment, say where he goes to a certain bar or even in his own place or somewhere, you saw a picture of Patrick Swayze, like maybe he's like going through old family photos and there's a picture of like Patrick Swayze with a kid. I think that could have helped and been cool and kind of connect it at least to the original, but not a hologram or a CG Patrick Swayze. That'd be terrible and poor taste, right?
Yeah. Well, listen, it's 2024 Hollywood. You can't rule anything out, unfortunately.
No, you can't.
Do you have interest for a sequel?
No. No.
Yeah.
Well, I guess here's the question. Based on the story, what would you need for you to watch a sequel to this? Or is it completely unsequelable in your eyes based on the story? Which
Amy,
it might be.
Thoughts?
What'd you say?
I asked Amy if she had any thoughts on that.
I don't need a sequel. I don't. I really don't. I'm leaving it there.
I don't know. I might put what I would need to watch a sequel to this iteration of Roadhouse would be Doug Liman to direct it again, because I am a fan of his work, and I don't think this is one of his best films, but I did think it was technically pretty solidly directed, in certain parts especially. But I would like to see a trailer that showed me that there's more fun and more involvement with the actual night-to-night operations of the bar. Like, to me, that That would have made this movie shine a little bit. Billio wants a sequel.
Really quick, and this, Patrick Swayze passed some time ago, so he's been gone a while, so it would have felt way too crazy.
Now, you know what movie?
Kind of appearance.
You know what movie could have a sequel with him, and it wouldn't be weird? Come on, Robbie. What Patrick Swayze movie will get a sequel, and he would be in the movie?
Are you about to say Ghost?
Maybe.
Oh my God,
Alex, that's kind of All right. So I guess that's our Roadhouse review, and we still got some time here. So let's chat for a little bit. Let's involve Alex. First of all, have either of you two watched Ghostbusters: Frozen Empire?
I have seen it actually.
I have not, but I heard that the reviews aren't the best.
I thought it was an okay movie. I felt like I can say I liked it better than the Roadhouse because I have mixed feelings about Afterlife. So I kind of had a little bit higher hopes for this one, and I ended up going in, and for the most part, I had a nice time.
I'm excited for it.
It's a mostly solid movie that a lot of people also did say it felt like the Ghostbusters cartoon. It felt like an extended episode of a Ghostbusters cartoon, which I'm like, that's fair.
I really liked Frozen Empire for what it was, right? Like I wouldn't say it's as good as Ghostbusters, the original, or the even the sequel. I love Ghostbusters too. But I didn't really like Afterlife that much, right? But this one I did enjoy it. It was a bit overstuffed with characters, right? So they didn't really get to focus in on what they needed to focus in on. And honestly, Amy, like if you remove some of those characters, the movie doesn't change really at all.
Yeah, agreed.
But I did enjoy it much more than the last one. Afterlife wasn't really quite my cup of tea, but Frozen Empire was a little bit more my cup of tea.
What about the female-led Ghostbusters movie?
I think that's the worst one. I wanted to like it. I wanted it to be good just to, because that was one of those movies where like there's a lot of negativity about it before it even drops, right? So I really wanted it to be good, but it wasn't. It just wasn't. I'm sorry.
I think my favorite thing about Frozen Empire was that we get to see them explore the world of Ghostbusters, and we get to see a new villain, and how, because they go into this ghost engineering program, so they're expanding the Ghostbusters program. So that's why you get to see all these new people get to be involved. So I liked expanding the lore. So I thought was very smart.
It's called Frozen Empire, right?
Yeah.
That's very interesting because Kong Godzilla is New Empire.
That's true, and it's out this week. And Spilio's asking everybody who is going to see.
Planning. Sorry, Spilios.
Hopefully this weekend, which is the next 2 days, because I want to see some kaiju fighting.
I don't follow those movies.
I'm gonna watch it. I might try to go watch it Sunday, but it depends on what I got going on and what I have to do. Because Sunday, I think I might be too loaded up, but I'm going to go try to see it, but I'm not necessarily looking forward to it. I want to go see it just because, like you, Alex, I want to see that kaiju on kaiju stuff, right? I want to see the big monster battles, and I want to see those on the big screen. Everything else about those movies, though, I could care less about, right?
It's going to be interesting to see how this movie does coming off the heels of the Oscar award-winning Godzilla -1.
That I want to see.
So
yeah, I still haven't seen that. I really want to see that one.
I know that they said that they actually changed an effect or two to homage. Yeah, to homage. In New Empire, they changed some special effects to homage Godzilla -1 because -1 did some things so good. Really quickly, Anissa, I want to say this. You're doing a chronological Star Wars watch, and you're on the Clone Wars. It is extremely important that you watch the Clone Wars in chronological order and not release order. There is an official episode release order for the chronological. Basically, you've an episode from season 3, then the movie, then stuff. But you must watch the Clone Wars in chronological order. It makes it like a flowing story. It makes so much more sense than to watch it in release order. So definitely watch it chronological order. And CJ, maybe Rex is cosplaying as Alex. Maybe you'll find out on Monday.
A little too positive. It would have been. I tell you what, man, I do miss Rex's presence because I know he told me he enjoyed this film, so it's going to be an interesting show Monday night. I'll tell you that.
I'm sure we were here All about it on Monday night.
I
See you,
know we
Commander
will.
B. Thanks for stopping by.
CIB.
Absolutely. So Alex, I didn't know that about Clone Wars. I didn't know that it wasn't released in a story order. It's kind of like Batman the Animated Series, right? Like if you watch it in story order, you see Harvey Dent show up a few times before he becomes Two-Face. You see things happening in Bruce's life. But when you watch it in release order, it's all jumbled up. So I guess is Clone Wars kind of like the same thing? They just decided, well, let's put this episode here because we think it's better or stronger or this or that.
Mostly. So in 2008, when Clone Wars was originally coming out, they had no idea how it would be, how it would do. They put the movie out first. It did pretty well in theaters, but they had no idea how the show would go. So they basically let themselves have the first season where there's story arcs, but they didn't, besides the story arcs that connect to each other, like the part 1, part 2, like they didn't necessarily connect directly to each other, allowing future stories in the middle or stuff. So they want to tell more stories and not be shoehorned and then not telling stories. Because, Star Wars universe is all about being shoehorned into what you can or can't do, plot armor, all that stuff. So, they introduced these clone commandos. And at some point they wanted to go back and give the origin of them. So actually the very first thing for Clone Wars is a season 3 episode called Clone Cadets, where you meet these clones. And then you have one more episode with them. And then you have the movie, and then you have all these story arcs. But you do have to jump season 3, 1, 2, 1 for a few things, because without spoilers, at the end of season 1, there's a Cad Bane episode where he rescues hostages that haven't even been taken hostage yet. So it's very confusing just to have an episode there. By watching in chronological order, it just flows, and you get like a full story, and you see Ahsoka kind of grow more. It is kind of annoying that they do that, but it's so important to do that in chronological order.
Alex, can you?
The live action Clone Wars. So
you're talking about Attack of the Clones? Is that what we're talking about there?
I believe Anissa's talking about the Clone Wars scene in Ahsoka episode 5. Some of the Clone Wars scenes from Ahsoka are sprinkled between the Clone Wars. Keep in mind, there's one other TV show set in that time period, which is called Star Wars Tales of the Jedi, which are little shorts. So some of those shorts are set in the Clone Wars in that time period. But the Ahsoka scene in the Clone Wars is set in a specific episode. I don't know the episode offhand, but there's one episode where they go to a specific planet, and that's the planet where the flashback takes place in. But the flashback doesn't overwrite any canon. Neither does the new canon. In fact, this is kind of crazy, but when Clone Wars got canceled before season 7, which they made a few years ago, there was 4 animatic episodes and a book that was released that were canon. The book is called Dark Disciple and features Quinlan Vos and Asajj Ventress, who, if you're watching Bad Batch, no spoilers, she was in the trailer. Asajj Ventress is in Bad Batch, which basically retcons, but doesn't retcon that Clone Wars story, which is canon. So, how did she survive? We'll see.
What do you I actually like the Clone Wars. I haven't watched all of it, but one of the things I really love is the line drawn animation, like Clone Wars one shots they were doing before they did. You remember that with where they first
the 2003 Tarkovsky, Genji Tarkovsky?
Yes, the dude who did Samurai Jack and Primal, right? I love that show, right? That's where we get introduced to Ventress for the first time. And that scene with her and Anakin fighting in the rain, and it's just sizzling off of the lightsabers. That's like some of the best Star Wars content I've ever seen in the prequel.
That's actually where Anakin gets his eye scar for the first time. Yeah, it's been retconned because that's no longer canon, but that's where Anakin got his scar.
It's still real to me.
That was 2003, which was the very first Star Wars. Okay, not counting Caravan of Courage and Ewoks. It was the first new Star Wars TV show in 25 years. And that first episode, there was no dialogue. It was all music, and it was just so beautiful. And you guys remember, these were literally 3-minute shorts on Cartoon Network that aired. So you'd wait for the whole week and then like just to watch these 3 minutes. So luckily they compiled them all into part 1 and part 2, and they added dialogue and stuff. But you know, right before episode 3 comes out, we have no idea what happens with Palpatine and all these characters. We get introduced to General Grievous when he is the most fearsome and the most intense we ever. He kills Shaggy.
It is Shaggy. It is straight up Shaggy as a Jedi, bro.
Shaggy. Like, there's a Jedi Master. It is Shaggy. There's no Scooby-Doo, but it's 100% Shaggy. But that was one of the last episodes, and building up to that,
it leads right to the beginning of Revenge of the Sith.
Yes, I mean, so if anyone doesn't know, in the old canon, Palpatine is kidnapped, and that's where he is in the beginning of episode 3. That's why Anakin and Obi-Wan are rescuing him. Well, this shows the attack on Coruscant the Separatists launched and how they basically abducted him. And it's obviously it's not canon anymore, but at the time, I mean, this was major because it leads right into episode 3, like just like Rogue One leads right into episode 4. This ends with the battle over Coruscant. So it's only two 45-minute volumes. So if anybody in the chat has not watched the original 2003, it's called Clone Wars. Not The Clone Wars, Clone Wars. But you get Dirge, you get Ilum, you get all these cool characters that have been reused now in canon, but they debuted there.
Is there any Star Wars property or like show or movie that you don't like, Alex? Like, what's the weakest one?
In canon and not canon, because I mean we don't have to talk about the Coward and the Courage or the movies and stuff. The droids TV show is okay, but from a live action standpoint, that's new. From a TV show standpoint, there really isn't anything that's horrible. So my answer is going to be by default Boba Fett, Book of Boba Fett, because here's the thing: it was advertised wrong. Robbie, if they make this one change, everything's different. If they advertise Boba Fett and they call it, hey, The Mandalorian 2.5, the Book of Boba Fett, that's it. There's no negative feedback, whatever. The show isn't about Boba Fett. Like, how can you have an episode about Boba Fett and have a full episode and a half where Boba Fett's not even mentioned or whatever? You know, and it shows Mando. You know, I get that. That's fine. But if they just said, hey, Book of Boba Fett is Mando 2.5, it's required viewing, that there's no, like, boom, that's all they had to do. Instead, they were just like, oh, no, it's going to be its own thing, Book of Boba Fett, whatever. And now people are expecting, they're expecting Mandalorian Season 2 Boba Fett. They're expecting Return of the Jedi Boba Fett. Well, guess what? Fett's been eaten by the Sarlacc. He's there. All he wants is armor back. Once let him be chill. Now, we want Boba Fett to be the badass that he is, but that's what Mandalorian is. That's what Din is. That's what we got from Din. So while it's disappointing that we're not seeing Boba Fett as his peak, I'm saying he doesn't have to be at this time period. We do want him to be, but it's just. So I'm going to say overall, that is probably the biggest disappointment.
Okay. I saw BJ, I saw your comment about AI and its influence on the comic book industry and where that's going in the future. These are thoughts that I am still formulating, and we will probably be discussing eventually at some point on this show and across the channel in general. But right now, I like, as I said on Sunday night's show, I need to talk to more professional comic book artists about this before I can really formulate my thoughts fully, because I'm not an artist in the comic book industry, and I know there's a lot of accusations going out right now about certain artists using AI and stuff, and I don't want it to become like a witch hunt in comics where everybody's accusing people of doing AI art and this and that. And now everybody's like, does every artist now have to like show, like prove, keep the receipts basically, and like be able to prove that their art's like real and this and that? There's a lot of nuances in that as far as copyright goes and ownership, and like that's a whole thing to unpack that I am actually not ashamed to say that I'm not quite qualified to discuss yet. But at a future date, We definitely will. I want to end the show with this. Looking forward, what's the next movie that you were ultra excited to see this year, Amy?
I'd have to double check. I mean, the number one movie that's coming out this summer, probably Deadpool and Wolverine.
First thing in my head.
Probably Deadpool and Wolverine, because that's the closest thing I can think of right now. And then probably not till more towards the end of the year, but the big summer movie that I know everyone's looking out for is that one.
I mean, for me, I'm actually looking forward to a movie that comes out, I think in a couple of weeks, but maybe just like a week or two. But the first Omen. I'm really looking forward to that one. Have you seen those trailers yet?
I have. I mean, especially all over YouTube. I hope it's good. I mean, some of it's a little. I mean, because I'm a big fan of the original Omen film, but I'm seeing the trailers and I'm like, some of it, does this connect to this? I don't know how. It's getting a little confusing for me. I don't know how it totally connects to the original movie, but I guess we'll have to wait and see.
My good buddy Joe would say The Crow.
I'm looking forward to that Crow movie. I really am. I loved that trailer. I thought it was great.
But I think Deadpool 3 is just, there's so many things that are happening. Just the fact that, the Fox universe is in the MCU and we're actually getting this and it's part 3, but it's brand new. There's so many things that's going to happen with this Deadpool movie that, everyone's waiting for, honestly, X-Men was 2000. So 24 years of X-Men movies, yes, we got Professor X back in Multiverse of Madness, but and yeah, we had the first class cameos in Deadpool 2, but I'm waiting for some crazy stuff in this movie. So yeah.
Another one I'm looking forward to is The Fall Guy. That trailer cracks me up so much. When I watched Ghostbusters, they had the Fall Guy trailer on it too, and I watched it again, and I love that trailer. That movie looks really fun to me, and that's in May, I believe.
I want to point something out really quickly. Anissa, part of the lore about Boba Fett and why he was so beloved is because after Star Wars came out in 77, the holiday special came out in 78, and in the holiday special, they debuted Boba Fett in the animated cartoon. So immediately, 1 year after Star Wars, there was already this armored figure. Besides Darth Vader and Stormtroopers, you have this brand new armored figure with no history, no nothing. A mysterious character, no face. And that set everything off alone. And then on top of that, because of the toys, which, Star Wars toys, of course, there was a Battlestar Galactica figure that had a shooting missile where a child choked on it. So during the production process for Boba Fett, they adjusted the backpack to have a shooting missile to now having a glued-in missile. And Boba Fett was a mail-away figure. So you had to collect Star Wars figures that had a proof of purchase in the back to send away to get this mysterious figure, which was the coolest thing. Which is why, obviously, the Boba Fett, J slot and L slot firing Fetts go for tens of thousands of dollars. Anyway, so that's little Boba Fett, and
yeah, Monkey Man looks interesting. The Dev Patel directed film it very much looks like John Wick, but most of today's movies look like John Wick. And Billy's right there. I wouldn't count out Ryan Gosling's ability to save any film at this point. Like seriously,
ears open for what people are saying about him.
Yeah, I think I'm becoming quite a fan of Ryan Gosling right now, to be honest. And I feel like he was cheated out of the Oscar, not for Best Supporting Actor, but for Best Song. Let's be honest. I'm Just Ken is way better than the song that they picked. I like Billie Eilish too, but come on, y'all.
So Greta already said she wasn't doing a sequel to Barbie, but I think the past month she said, maybe we should do a sequel to Barbie. But
it depends on how her Narnia film's going to do, right?
I can't see there not being a Ken spinoff in some aspect. That
would be fun.
It's a major IP. It's one of the biggest movies of the year, made millions and millions of dollars. It's Barbie. How could you not? Yeah.
Heck yeah. Joker 2. I see some good ones out there in the chat. Joker 2, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes.
Is Joker 2 this year?
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yep. Venom 3's this year, Craven's this year. I don't have high hopes for those, especially after Madam Web.
Craven? That movie wasn't canceled?
No, not yet.
Give it time. Give it time.
Furiosa? Yeah, lots of good stuff.
Oh, you know what movie I'm actually looking forward to is there's 2 Star Trek movies coming up. They just showed the first images from it's going to be Paramount Plus exclusive. It's called Section 31, Michelle Yeoh. It's her movie.
Cool.
But they just announced, I think it was Tuesday, for the first time in 4 years or 5 years, there's actual new movement on the last Abrams verse, the last Kelvin verse Star Trek movie. They attached a writer to the movie, and they said this is going to end the Kelvin verse, basically, which is the first actual production update tangible in years. And Lisa, Joker 2 will be a musical. However, I think it's going to be great because if you watch The Killing Joke, the animated one, it has very bad parts of it, like Barbara, and we don't talk about that. But the fact that Joker and Mark Hamill actually sings in The Killing Joke, just like he does in the book, is perfection. Shows his craziness. So, I mean, Lady Gaga is not going to be Harley Quinn and not sing. So, come on.
Speaking of musicals, PCP Movie Night, Monday night, we're fulfilling a 4-year promise to talk about the 2019 Cats movie.
Oh,
Cats?
I couldn't finish that.
Amy, it was rough. That was like, I watch, Amy, you know that I watch a lot of gnarly, fever dreamish horror films, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I love shit like that. Cats was like a whole other level. This could be called Uncanny Valley, the movie. Like, it's just so weird. And I love Cats, the stage production. Man, I'm sure this is going to be one of the most fun PCP movie nights we've ever had. But March Madness is not over yet, even though technically Cats could be a part of March Madness. Last night, I was over at Blood Splatter Chatter. We talked about Black Swan. It was my first time watching it. Please go check out that video. Me and Verno and Eric have a really great conversation. And the official finale of March Madness is tomorrow night. I will be joining Dylan over at Dylan's Horror Show to talk about 1981's Possession. I watched Possession one night, Cats the next night, and then Roadhouse. So it was so weird. The movies I've watched this week. So I'm so tired. Anyway, what do y'all got coming up, Amy?
The original art experience will be on tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern. Nick's gonna have a very loosey-goosey show. He'll have a couple items for sale, but mostly it's just gonna be a nice, chill chat time.
Waffle House?
Oh, Waffle House. And then I know you guys are back on Comic Collectables on Monday. Hopefully Rex should be here. Hopefully John will be here. And I mean, who knows what will happen at the end of that show? Who knows?
Yeah, who knows? I'm sure we'll talk about Roadhouse. Rex will tell us how we're idiots and how the movie's really good. And if this movie would have released in theater, he would have went and saw it probably. I don't. The other thing about the Roadhouse movie,
I don't even know if he's seen Dune Part 2 yet.
Yeah, Rex isn't going to the theater for anything, right? So, like, John's offered to buy his ticket. Like, I'll buy your ticket. You can come with me, right? What was I gonna say? Now I've complete.
Rex, come up this weekend.
Yeah, he'll. I don't remember. Doesn't matter. Anyway, all right. So join Nick tonight for the original art experience. Check out the EXP. There's a link in the description below to the very show that we're doing on Monday night, which took me a moment to find because they changed the thumbnail up, and I was like, "Where is it? Where is it? Where is it?" But very excited. We always have fun over there, so check those shows out, and do check us out for March Madness. Last night, I was on Verno's channel, Blood Splatter Chatter, to talk about Black Swan. Tomorrow night, I'll be on Dylan's channel, Dylan's Horror Show, to talk about Possession. And the vibes continue on with Cats. Trust me.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry you had to go through the whole thing.
Well,
I was able to jump ship, but
just to let y'all know, this is what happened. So 4 years ago, we're doing a live stream, right? It's like at the end of 2019. We're doing a live stream, and people are like, y'all, it's me, Jelani, and Brooks on the live stream. And everybody's like, y'all should review Cats. Just being funny, right? Because Cats had just come out in theater, and everybody had heard how terrible it was. And so I was like, $25 in super chats, and we'll review it. So then we got $25. So then the next week we go to watch Cats, and it's already pulled from our theater, right?
Ooh.
And so then like a buddy gets us a copy, but it's all like it's like a bootleg from the theater, right? It's terrible, right? So then eventually we just kind of forgot about it. And then I realized we have a show on April 1st. What better way to do an April Fool's joke than to make us finally watch Cats and talk about it? So that's what we're doing. Oh, maybe is Rex a fan of Cats? It does have Taylor Swift in it. Anyway, so check out those shows on the EXP. Check out the shows we're doing here in the PCP Army Network.